Welcome to On Tapes Podcast, a podcast about the physical medium of VHS tapes. Each week, Mark and I will look at 3 tapes, one film that I have chosen, one film that he has chosen, and a third novelty tape that we pick at random. Mark, what are our films today?
This week, Rowan, we've got Kids Return by Takeshi Kitano, Japanese film. Mikey and Nicky by Elaine May, starring Peter Falk and John Cassavetes. And we also have the Great Dorset Steam Fair 1998.
That we do. So, are we starting with Kids Return this week?
Yeah, sure.
Seems like a good place to start. So, what is this film about, Mark?
So, Kids Return is about 2 young delinquents in Japan who are trying to find something to do with their lives, and they end up joining a boxing
Jim?
And one of them ends up dropping out to join the Yakuza, and their lives are beset by violence.
Did you like the film?
It was okay.
Okay, I feel the same way. It was good, wasn't anything to write home about.
No, I am a big fan of Takeshi Kitano,
Yeah, same.
but I like the films when he's in them.
Yeah.
And notably, he's not in this.
We noted this at the end of the last episode that you were excited by Takeshi's appearance in the back of this box.
Looking cool, wearing his shades.
Does not appear in the film.
No.
Or does he? He's in a boxing ring.
I don't think he is.
He's not. He's in some sort of boxing ring on the back of this box.
I think this is a promo photo they've taken, and then the VHS people have decided to use this to be like, well, people are going to expect Takeshi in a Takeshi Kitano film.
Yeah, because they write this on the front of the box from the director of Violent Cop, Sonatine and Hanabi. And if you know he's the director of those films, you most likely know he's the star as well.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start with this film?
Can we start with the VHS bits first? The pirate video ad at the start, particularly.
Yes. Do you want to talk us through the opening skit, I guess you'd call it?
Some guy going up to this market trader saying,
Vicky Stenner's energy.
yeah, you've sold me this dodgy VHS tape. This is train spotting and it's all messed up. Or something like that.
Well, yeah, he goes up with a dodgy tape, and it's meant to be about how you shouldn't buy your tapes off of dodgy blokes at sales, and you should buy them legitimately.
Yeah, and they have an argument and he's like, I'm not giving you your money back.
Yeah, and...
Oh, what, are you upset there was no trains in it?
Well, the tape in question is train spotting, and the customer complains that he couldn't understand a thing, and the guy has the gall to be like, well, they're Scottish, aren't they? You turn the subtitles on.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, sure it does. Anyway, I've never seen a skit like that before. I'm more just used to the DVD ones, the whole you wouldn't steal a car.
You wouldn't push an old woman down the stairs.
That kind of thing. And it's nice to have a different one of those for once. I like this one more.
I liked it a lot.
It had actual acting. Gave me a good chortle.
And then I thought the film started, but it was just an advert for another Takeshi Kitano film.
Yeah, the song that plays during that sounded like tubular bells.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I was like, is this The Exorcist?
Yeah, I was so unsure of what that was.
Over a Bosch painting.
Yeah.
Which is also very, Exorcist-y. And I couldn't tell which film it was because it had a beach scene and Takeshi Kitano in sunglasses and with a gun.
You make good points.
All of his films.
The music in this film, though, I thought was quite good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
The kind of 90s-ish take on the traditional music.
Yeah, by Joe Hisaishi, who I think is quite notable.
The case of this film, it's got one of those looks that looks like it could be distributed by someone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it looks like it could have been an Artificial Eye style release.
Yeah, especially because it's upside down.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I'll include a picture of this, but the spine sits in a way that when it's amongst other tapes, it reads upside down, which is going to infuriate me once I put it on a shelf. I can already tell.
Speaking of the VHS extras, I enjoyed the advertisement of the manga video store at the start of the film.
Was it manga.co.uk?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Yeah.
These people enjoy their Japanese crap.
Yeah. We've already got the weaves, why not just push more stuff on them? So, the film begins with the 2 lead characters, Masura and Shinji, meeting up again after years apart.
I guess so.
And then it quickly cuts back to their time at school together.
Yeah.
In which they were misfits.
This first bit of the film is a lot more comedic than what it turns into.
Yes, yeah, I thought the same. They're even portrayed as stand-up comics.
Yeah, that element of it very much made me think that Takeshi was maybe making a joke about his time as a stand-up comedian
Sure.
in a duo. Especially considering they're doing the stand-up comedian thing and people just aren't laughing at it.
The two characters are almost bullyish
Yeah.
to the other classmates. And there's a part where they're doing their stand-up comedy for these two other guys who just completely...
Not having it.
Yeah, completely not have it. And they are then threatened to clap, which I thought was good. The film to me was quite relatable in its portrayal of adolescent friendships. Adolescent male friendships, anyway. I mean, that resonated with me. And how over the course of the film you kind of see them be these two inseparable people and just slowly drifting apart, which I think is something that we've all kind of experienced at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I definitely related more to Mikey and Nicky in that case, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I think we both watched Kids Return first before Mikey and Nicky.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know the plot of either, so it's kind of a coincidence that we both landed on these films with similar topics. People want their themed episodes, Mark. We're giving them what they asked for. But to me, it's two different portrayals, because obviously Mikey and Nicky is these two older men looking back on their friendship. Well, it's not real time you watch it play out in, because it's framed as a flashback, but it's more or less watching them kind of just grow apart over time.
Yeah, it certainly has a more optimistic ending in a way, even though as a whole the film's quite melancholic.
Sure. It's a circular style ending in which they go back to the school at the end and they reflect and ponder about, are there any other kids like us at school like this now?
Yeah, I guess that's the whole theme, is that it's quite a universal experience. What did you think of the duo anyway? Because it seemed to me like Shinji is the one you'd expect to become a Yakuza, but it's actually Masura who ends up becoming one.
Why would you say that?
He just seems like the type more so.
Because he was quieter
Yeah.
at the beginning?
And also he has more of that sort of energy to him. Maybe I'm thinking as well because the actor Masanobu Ando also played the psycho character from Battle Royale.
You could tell that Masura had more frustrations to get out throughout the film, which is why I expected... Because he's the first one to go to the boxing, and you think like this is his outlet for his like adolescent rage and angst. And then he is no good at that, and he's outshined by Shinji, and then obviously that leads him to the path to end up with the Yakuza. I thought their paths kind of fit their personalities.
As we were saying earlier about Takeshi not being in it, it's because the year before he'd had a motorcycle accident.
Really?
And become partially paralysed. There was speculations he'd never direct again. But like 6 months later he was doing this.
Jesus. Good on him. So this tape was released in 2000, so I guess he may have had the Hanabi following kind of grow by this point.
Yeah, is it mentioned on the cover?
Yes, it's mentioned here as one of the films he directed.
Yeah, that's the big one, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I'd never heard of this film. I stumbled across it when I was looking for tapes, and I don't think you'd heard of it either.
No, actually.
Interesting to see another work of his, just to have seen it, but...
Yeah.
It didn't strike me as something that I remember. You kind of told me once you finished watching it, left you immediately.
Yeah, pretty much. Though I think that if you're looking for a coming-of-age film in a sort of melancholic way, maybe it'd do more for you.
Yeah. Is there any other points you want to make?
No. Shall we move on to Mikey and Nicky?
I would like to talk about the title. What did you think of the title, Kids Return?
I think it kind of makes sense.
I kind of thought it was odd because, especially Masura's story, he kind of never leaves childhood. He always seems to have this frustrated adolescent energy with him, which made me think he never really left this childlike state, or teenage state, I guess. So the idea of him returning is kind of...
Maybe it's about him returning to Shinji.
Yes, more literally, yes. I was more thinking personality-wise, he always...
Returning to being a kid.
Returning to embracing it, I suppose, because they're back on the bike at the end of the film like they were in the beginning, and as is shown on the front of the box. What did you think of the colour scheme in this?
I liked it, especially the scene it really stood out to me was when they were running together. One was wearing red, one was wearing
red and
blue.
Yeah, I like that too. And the shell suits that are prominent throughout the film.
And it kept seeming like they were trying to overtake each other.
Yeah. So would you like to move on to our second film?
Yeah, let's move on to Mikey and Nicky because I feel like I have a lot more to say about this.
Okay, go on. I'll let you describe the film first.
It's about two middle-aged gangsters who have been friends since childhood, and One of them has had a hit put out on him by the mob, and that's Nicky, because of his reckless behaviour. And the other one is trying to deal with him throughout the night, but we quickly realise that maybe Mikey is trying to help get him killed, or he's trying to save him. It's kind of ambiguous, and the sort of fate will be decided by their relationship throughout the film.
Yeah, it kind of comes down to them. It's one of those things where at the start it's a branching path, really.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's all set over the course of one night. It's got a real long night feeling about it. They're wandering the streets, drinking, meeting with people, so on.
I mean, we've all had those kind of nights, I think, where you kind of it just meanders about.
Yeah, and then they go to the graveyard at one point because Nicky wants to see his mother's grave.
Before we get to the film, can we talk about this box that you presented me with? Have you ever seen a box like this before?
No, but I love it.
It's Dutch, and as I was watching it, I realised, well, as I was opening the box, I realised that I have another Dutch VHS. I accidentally, at a car boot sale once, bought a copy of GoldenEye on VHS, because the front cover, it said GoldenEye, it had your man Pierce, it all looked fine. I get home, I look in the back, and the description is all in Dutch. But it was in a normal case, like any of these other VHS cases. But this one, it opens in the middle. I'll do a sound on mic. It's kind of stiffer.
Great sound.
Yeah. And the tape itself, I don't know if you noticed, but the sticker on the front is on top of another sticker.
Oh yeah.
Look at it.
So what was underneath?
I don't know, but it seems like a proper release. It doesn't seem like a home recording.
Yeah, produced on VHS, Maxell.
Whoever distributed this had blank tapes and didn't get rid of the sticker behind it, just put a new sticker on, I think. And it's got stickers on it. It's got another sticker on the side. It's got 3 stickers around it. Can't read them. They're in Dutch.
Looks a bit like a Sega Saturn case.
Yes, this is what I said. I made the point that I know that in America, a lot of VHS tapes come in almost just cardboard sleeves, which is what we got for the Saturn. But if I'm not mistaken,
it's the other way around.
It's the other way around here. Where did you even find this?
On eBay. From the UK, I think.
Really? Okay. Well, let's not ask how it ended up here and be glad that it did.
I want to know if your GoldenEye tape has the credits at the end as well?
What?
Because this film had the credits at the end.
You meant to say trailers, Mark, but I'll let you
the
off of
trailers at the end. I want to know if your GoldenEye tape has the trailers at the end as well, like this does.
Oh, we're skipping to the trailers?
Yeah.
Okay.
What a delightful surprise to see Kurt Russell playing Elvis at the end of this film.
In a John Carpenter film?
Yeah, the John Carpenter Elvis film with Kurt Russell.
It reminded me of some trivia. Would you like to hear some trivia?
I would love some trivia.
I know all you movie buffs out there love movie trivia. Kurt Russell's first ever film credit was in an Elvis film.
But not John Carpenter's Elvis?
No, like an actual Elvis film. You know how Elvis made movies.
Right.
He was like a child who comes up and kicks Elvis.
I'd watch that.
There's your weekly trivia.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
So yeah, there was a trailer at the end. Firstly there was the Elvis film trailer, and then there was a trailer for Watership Down. And then the tape just ended. I let the credits run, and I made sure to tell Mark that there was something after the credits, so he could also watch.
It was a delight.
This is such an odd VHS, because the quality of this specific tape isn't great. There's a lot of loss on the tape, but as we've mentioned before, it kind of added to the film.
Especially this film, because it's so...
That's what I'm saying, especially specifically for this film, it really added a grind to it.
It's so scuzzy. In the graveyard scene, you can barely see what's going on.
Yes, I thought the same thing. I watched it in the middle of the day with my blinds up, sunlight pouring in, and
Not ideal.
Not ideal, but I had to be done. But it was a grime that you...
A Philadelphia grime.
Have you been to Philadelphia?
No.
I have, and it definitely feels like a Philly film. You get that energy.
I've heard David Lynch describe it as a black pit which was destroying his soul.
So you've seen the film before?
Yeah. Second time I've seen it now.
Did it hold up?
Yeah.
So, like it more, like it less?
The same.
Okay.
I liked it a lot the first time. I like it, if anything, actually, more this time.
Because of the tape?
No, it's just that There's a lot going on in this film. There's a lot of little details to notice, and there's a lot to appreciate in the performances.
Do you want to talk about the relationship between the two characters?
Yeah. So, it's quite a tense relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the sense that it opens with Nicky calling Mikey for help. And you get the sense this isn't the first time that's happened.
Yes. Nicky definitely seems like he's his own worst enemy, and Mikey is well aware of this.
Yeah. Mikey is definitely someone who is very collected and measured and quite observational. And Nicky is pure impulse. Which you can see Mikey take advantage of a lot of the time when Nicky will start doing something and Mikey will just confuse him by talking about something else.
Yes.
To resolve the situation.
Yes.
What did you think about their relationship, though?
Again, going back to Kids Return, I liked the study of this masculine relationship that's displayed. It's very clear that you're not meant to like these characters, whereas I think you're meant to have more sympathy in Kids Return to the main characters. Nicky is almost irredeemable, whereas Mikey, you kind of have this... He's presented as being more redeemable, I suppose.
Is he, though? Well,
exactly, is he, though?
The tagline of the film is, don't expect to like him.
Is that on the cover? No, of all this text in the front, it doesn't say that. Anyway, go on.
So Mikey's someone who is clearly very insecure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not very well respected. And Nicky, his problem is that he's very impulsive, but he's also very likeable. But it's this impulsiveness which is going to get him killed.
Yeah.
Whereas no one's going to bother killing Mikey.
Sure.
Because he's so pathetic.
I suppose what I meant by the irredeemable comment is that he's someone that someone would give up on easily. Whereas
Yes.
he knows Mikey's someone who won't give up on him, or assumes he won't give up on him. And he kind of definitely takes advantage of that. And they're both kind of manipulative, though.
Well, yeah, very much so. And they're both quite misogynistic. Nicky is racist in that one scene.
Yeah.
There's the central scene for me is when they're at Nicky's girlfriend's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicky sort of pressures her into having sex with him.
Yes.
And it's all shot with Nicky and the girl in the foreground in the dark. Mikey's in the background in the kitchen in the light and sort of moving around and looking very tense about this whole situation. Then Nicky leaves the room. Mikey comes in and also tries to have sex with the girl. And he seems to feel entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she rejects him and he becomes humiliated. And there's a real sense that Mikey's really insecure about his sexuality.
Right, yeah.
And even though he tries to seem nice, he does feel entitled to things like sex.
Yes.
And later, when they're outside, he has a go at Nicky and said that he just took him there to humiliate him. And they call her a dumb bitch.
But even in that, I feel like they're both definitely in the wrong.
Definitely.
It's one of these kind of shades of grey things where it's like, the whole situation is just like, it's a mess to begin with.
Yeah. Well, you can see a lot in the body language of, say, Nicky and his wife.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Nicky moves towards his wife and then she sort of cowers slightly and he puts his hands up as if to say, I'm not going to hit you.
Yeah.
Which implies that it's quite a regular occurrence.
Yes.
And you also see a lot of tension sort of between Mikey and his wife. She seems very tense when they're talking to me.
Yeah, the phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Elaine May as a director? Because you've seen her some of her other films, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen A New Leaf.
Okay.
Well, the thing about this film is...
I have not seen any film apart from this one.
Well, the thing about this film is that it kind of... A lot of people have said that it feels a lot more like a Cassavetes film in terms of how improvised it is. And from starring Cassavetes and Peter Falk, who were good friends in real life. And in this film, it's definitely her most dramatic film. She got a start as a comedy partner with Mike Nichols and did 2 comedic films before this. This is her first pretty much outright drama. Some comedic element, it's quite funny. So when she was filming this, apparently she filmed 3 times as much footage for this as they did for Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
She would just leave the cameras running sometimes, even when the actors weren't even on the set.
And how much of that made it in?
Well, it's a 2-hour film and she'd recorded about 11 hours.
I know, but I mean, some of that
I imagine.
may have been selected.
Yeah, well, apparently at one point other assistant director maybe came in and yelled cut, and she got really angry at him, and he went, they're not even on the set, and she said, well, they might come back.
Yeah, and I feel like that shows that she has a good understanding of the relationship between Falk and Cassavetes.
Yeah, definitely.
To know that even though it's not scripted or anything, there's just some interaction that they might have that could enhance her story.
Yeah, they do feel a lot like their characters. You could definitely it wouldn't work with different actors.
Yeah, or if the roles were flipped, even
yeah,
that.
Peter Falk's got like that nervous energy. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a bit of Columbo there with his body language, and Cassavetes has that sort of spontaneous, like you don't know what he's gonna do thing.
You say a bit of Columbo, but I think it's just Falk being Falk.
I think it is. Well, because of all the fights she shot, there was a lot of conflict between her and Paramount, the producers, and they tried to take over the film. She actually hid some of the reels from them in order to retain final cut. But because of this film, she was basically blackballed from Hollywood. Didn't make another film until Ishtar in 10 years, and we all know how that turned out.
And then after that, nothing else?
Yeah, nothing else until a documentary about Mike Nichols.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a lot going on in this film. And, you know, it's kind of... It feels to me like these days there's kind of a discourse around cinema where some people of sort of vocal minority want to have characters be very explicitly good or bad. Mm-hmm. And it's not as common these days, I feel like, to show such horrible, venomous characters and try to sort of elicit sympathy for them.
Yeah, because I feel like the general understanding is that you have to empathise with the character. You have to have a character that your audience can put themselves in the shoes of. Yeah. And even in this film, I feel like that's definitely something possible. Like I said, it made me think of like male relationships, friendships. And I guess it makes sense in that sense, but I get what you mean. There's a lot of outcry where they're saying, this person is acting in a way I wouldn't, so therefore I can't relate to their story.
Yeah, which seems very a naive way of thinking about characters and the world.
Mm-hmm. Insular. Very insular.
It sort of seems to speak to a lack of curiosity to me as to what other people feel.
So how do you feel about May's take on this male relationship?
I think it really works, and I honestly think this film is one of the best depictions of masculinity and toxic masculinity ever put on film. And it was directed by a woman, which is very interesting. So to talk more about the characters, because I do think they're really interesting, Nicky's quite childish, and he treats everything like a joke, which really annoys Mikey, who is very conscious of people. But Nicky doesn't really have to worry about other people's feelings because he's quite popular. Whereas Mikey's constantly trying to please people, despite the fact they don't particularly like him.
Interesting. So, as you were describing this dynamic, I was thinking of the graveyard scene and him feeling the need to keep decorum. He has a line about there being a difference between respecting the dead and what's okay, I think. Something along those lines. And Mikey is adamant that you can't yell in a cemetery. No. And even though the situation, it's definitely, they're both taking it seriously. Before that, they were having a conversation about their dead mothers. But now Nicky is taking it in a way where he's just now yelling in a cemetery, "Hey Ma, where are you?"
Yeah, and despite Mikey being an avowed atheist, he gets really angry when Nicky says that if anything happens to me, Ma, it's Mikey's fault.
Yes. It's moments like that I think are integral in showing that they know how each other tick. Yeah. Because he says that, knowing, even though Mikey is kind of been like, fine, have it your way, he knows he can reel him back in with that line.
Yeah, definitely. There's the scene later on where he keeps going on about Mikey's dead brother.
Yeah, the bald brother.
Yeah, which seems like something that has really defined Mikey's life. I feel like it's implied that a lot of Mikey's insecurities come from being unable to live up to the brother. Especially later when he says that his father didn't like anyone except for his brother and except for Nicky, which clearly is a source of insecurity for Mikey.
So how do you feel about how the ending went down?
I think it's really good, especially as a sort of parallel with the first scene where you see Mikey trying to break down the door to help Nicky, and in the end Nicky's trying to break down the door to get Mikey to help him.
Do you feel like the decisions that were made are in line with the characters.
Yeah, I think so.
Mikey specifically.
But you definitely feel like it didn't have to turn out that way.
Yeah.
Mikey could have maybe helped him get away, but he was really concerned with self-preservation. And if Nicky hadn't been the way he is, maybe it would have gone a lot easier.
Yeah, again, that's going back to my whole thing about Nicky being his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that you empathise more with Mikey in that he's just a man who's fed up. And he feels like he's putting this on his own shoulders too much. It's weighing him down.
Yeah. Well, Nicky is all about being self-destructive. Mikey is all about being self-preserving.
Yeah. They have a conflicting kind of things going on. And there's no sense that there's going to be a resolution anytime soon because they've been friends for all these years already.
Yeah. You can really tell that their lives have been defined sort of in opposition to each other as well as friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to mention about this film?
I think just that it's a very big shame that Elaine May's career didn't take off after this.
Yeah.
And I do want to watch Ishtar.
Yeah.
I think it's been reappraised a lot in recent years.
I mean, I'm open to watching anything else of hers now. I couldn't find any of it for a while.
She said, I think, not that long ago, she said, if everyone who hates Ishtar had seen Ishtar, I'd be very rich.
Good point. It is one of those infamous films.
So, Mikey and Nicky.
For me, I didn't love it, but I feel like I could go back to it and get more out of it each time. It's one of those films that I think but benefits from multiple viewings. Once you have this established understanding in your mind of these characters, you kind of see more every time, which I think is something valuable in a film.
I definitely agree. It kind of made me think of the sort of thing that Tarantino would call a hangout movie. Something you can just put on and sort of enjoy being with these characters, as despicable as they are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think it's very well structured, despite the improvisational nature of it.
Are you ready to move on to our final tape?
Yes.
So our final tape this week it's the Great Dorset Steam Fair 1998. Mark, would you like to introduce the Great Dorset Steam Fair 1998?
So the Great Dorset Steam Fair of 1998 is a documentary depiction, I think an amateur documentary,
Yes.
about a steam fair.
Filmed and produced by Jonathan Eckert.
Thank you, Jonathan. About the Great Dorset Steam Fair of 1998, which is a steam fair, sort of a bunch of steam engines, tractors, steam-powered vehicles, and a sort of carnival-esque
And
thing.
a bunch of vehicles that aren't powered by steam.
Yeah. Really a lack of focus to this fair, to be quite honest with you.
It's your classic motor show, day out with the family kind of thing.
Yeah. And also a sort of folksy, antiquated, like West Country, scrumpy drinking, day out.
You like the scrumpy.
I like scrumpy. It's very West Country.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just the accents? Just the people?
The accents, the people.
Well, they definitely highlight the worldwide, the global...
European.
Well, no, it's more than that because they have the Americans over as well.
Oh, yeah.
The fair is shown to draw exhibitors, I guess you'd say, exhibitors and visitors from across the world.
Honestly, I don't feel bad about talking about it as being a West Country thing. At parts, it feels like cosplay.
Sure.
Like a bunch of people cosplaying as folksy, old-timey people.
I would definitely call these people chieftains or English chieftains. I don't know what the term is down your way.
Inappropriate calling them yokels.
See, yokel doesn't sound... Chieftain is a good way to sum them up.
I mean, the pub scene reminded me a lot of the Wicker Man.
Yeah, I would call those people in the Wicker Man chieftains.
Yeah. So, what did you think about Michael Oliver?
The narrator.
Yeah.
He seemed like a very well-informed man, and I assume that's why
And a very nice man.
chosen. Yes, and that's why he was chosen to narrate this.
Some would say too well informed.
Yes. Do you want to explain why?
So, he seems passionate, but he doesn't seem like someone who has experience commentating on things, because he doesn't know what to leave out. So, for instance, every single thing that appeared on screen that we could see with our eyes, he would describe.
Or in some cases, just read out text.
Yes, or just see people. A person would walk onto the screen, he'd say, "There's Stephen there."
Yes.
Then cut to someone else. "There's Tom there."
It played to me...
And then there would be a dog. "There's the dog."
It played to me like both a DVD commentary where someone is just pointing things out, but also at the same time like a modern reaction style YouTube video where someone's just talking, it's just playing in the background and they just sprinkle their input over it.
Yeah, honestly, I feel bad for the way we're tearing it apart slightly, because it feels like something that, maybe if you're interested in this kind of thing, you'd get a lot more out of it.
It's definitely not for us.
No. And,
the people at this fair seem quite passionate about Steam.
Very much so. And, I think it's good that they've got a thing to enjoy.
Yes.
People not a fan of that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car, though. It's not even Steam.
No. What Mark's referring to there is that there's a segment where they brought out famous cars or semi-famous cars.
Yeah.
And the car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was there. And the guy was driving around waving and no one seemed to care.
And later on there was a subsection about horses where they were putting horseshoes on them.
Yes.
And there was a different voiceover person for that, and she seemed much more confident.
Sure. But the tape, we haven't mentioned the runtime. It's 3 hours of us just
3 hours
watching what's going on here. And
that's 3 hours.
we discussed that if someone were to visit, they probably wouldn't even spend more than 3 hours there.
You'd have 2 hours and then maybe lunch.
Yes, and then you'd look at your watch and think, oh, the show's starting in half an hour. We'd be as well stick around for it. That kind of thing. It resonated with me because my family kind of has farm ties. So I have been taken to these fair-type motoring-ish events. And it's a fun day out, but it nailed the sense of it dragging and me being confused.
As a highly urbanised city slicker, I was pretty much alienated from the entire experience.
No, I got a lot of nice nostalgia feelings from it.
I tell you what, this is. It's a real steampunk.
Yes, you're not wrong there. Do you want to talk about some of the things featured in it?
Yeah.
What were your highlights from this 3 hour odyssey?
Well, there was the friendly ploughing match. The nightmare scene of the magic show, which was done entirely in slow motion. Sort of a nightmare slow motion scene of this guy putting knives into a cupboard.
Yes, a lot of kids' entertainment going on. Fun for the whole family. Because there was a lot of kids that you could see were very bored of the exhibits and were just dragged there by their overly eager parents who cared a lot more than them.
Well, according to Michael Oliver, the thing that we were all really there for was the dancing girls in the Can-Can show. And I will add to you, not just one Can-Can show, not 2 Can-Can shows, but 3 Can-Can shows. And not just 3 Can-Can shows, 3 other dancing girl scenes, making a total of 6 scenes with dancing women.
Was that your highlight of the tape, Mark?
I wouldn't call it a highlight, I just think it's strange that at this Steam Fair we need this many scenes of women on a stage dancing in sort of provocative ways.
Yeah, that's what the people wanted.
I guess so.
I guess that's what they wanted.
Why the Can-Can? There's other dances.
Well, it was the 30-year anniversary, and the Can-Can is from the 20s?
Maybe it was an homage to Jean Renoir's French Can-Can.
It was in Dorset, Mark.
My mistake.
So, definitely not for us.
Not for us.
It was interesting how good quality the footage looked.
Yeah, and it kind of had the feel of like a BBC documentary from this period.
Yeah, I may chalk that up to the fact that we might be the first people to ever watch this tape. Or maybe whoever owned this previously didn't rewatch the whole 3 hours a lot.
It was the sort of thing that you'd show on BBC 2 in instalments, or BBC 4 these days.
Yeah.
At like 6. BBC 4 started at 7.
It would be nice to have on in the background, but we were watching it
Actively
to then review. But I could see this being something you would chuck on just to... Especially nowadays, if you were an avid fan back then, you could be like, oh, the good old days.
It's good memories if you've been there.
Yes.
You can point at things and say, oh, remember we saw that?
Or point yourself out. So, the Great Dorset Steam Fair, was it as bad as you thought it would be last week?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, anyway, we can move on now.
Well, it's not for us.
Yes, again.
We've said that again. It's not for us.
It's not for us.
It's not for us. Please get rid of it.
Was it for us?
It's not for us.
Okay. So, do you want to pick a tape for next week?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay, I'll run and get mine. Would you like to go first, Mark?
I would indeed. So, my tape for this week is John Woo's Bullet in the Head.
Let me see this. I like this cover. I'm a big fan of this cover. It's the full uncut version. Cool.
Yeah, one of John Woo's lesser known films, but I think very often called one of his best.
The back as well. Okay, I'll share with you what I've got.
It's Xanadu.
It is Xanadu!
Starring Olivia Newton-John and Gene Kelly, which, as I recall, was an infamous flop and known for being awful.
But it's been reappraised in recent years.
Maybe we'll find merit in it.
I'm really looking forward to watching this film.
I'm looking at the back of this box right now, and there's some images on it, I can tell you that.
I think it might be the kind of thing that I will love.
Also,
Find out next week.
according to the back of the box, also available in this range is Johnny Depp in Crybaby. John Waters'
stuff.
film.
So this tape must have been released in the 90s then.
I guess so.
Because the film's from 80.
You really know how to pick them.
Speaking of picking them, would you like to pick a number out the hat for next week's novelty tape?
I shall. I'll go for this one. 4.
Right, I have the tape. Here it is.
Ah, interesting. It's Absolutely Fabulous Fashion, which is, it's the first episode of Absolutely Fabulous.
That it is.
No complaints there. This is going to be a treat after last week.
It was, I think it was free with the Sun. Because it's in a very, as we were talking earlier.
No, exclusive to reads of The Mirror and Sunday Mirror.
Okay, I knew it was one of them. But it's interesting that we were talking earlier about the American tapes coming in the sleeves, and this happens to be in one of those cardboard sleeves.
Only 30 minutes, of course.
Oh boy. Be a nice, short experience.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Okay, so I think we're looking positive again going into next week. So Mark, any closing words?
I'm feeling more positive about cinema this week. Less indifferent.
The indifference might have been cured?
We'll see.
We'll have to find out next time on On Tapes. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.